So, Skeleton Crew. People were saying, "Oh, it was good. It wasn't woke at all, and this and that." But we have Star Wars Crew. Star Wars Skeleton Crew is confirmed failure. No episodes made it onto the Nielsen rating charts, as post acolyte fan apathy buries Star Wars. So if this show didn't have anything woke or whatever, uh, was the writing bad? Were the characters not relatable? I mean, what made it fail? And before anyone says it, if you enjoyed the show, I'm glad you enjoyed it. But you enjoying it doesn't make it a success. So putting that out there. Because I always get those people whenever I talk about this kind of stuff. Like, oh, you're stupid, you're this, you're that, I loved it, and blah, blah, blah. Great. You enjoyed it. But you're just one viewer. You viewing it doesn't make it a success. Financially, it looks like it was a failure. It's official. Skeleton Crew is a flop. It's become the lowest performing Star Wars project to date. Not a single episode of Skeleton Crew made it onto the Nielsen streaming rating charts. A grim first for the once unshakable franchise. As first pointed out by Cosmic Book News, even with all 8 episodes released, there was only 8 episodes. There was no late surge from binge watchers. This marks a sharp contrast from the previous Star Wars series, even though it was considered underwhelming. So 8 episodes, and people were thinking, I guess, that it was eventually gonna it'll pick up. But 8 episodes and no one watched it. In the week that Skeleton Crew episode 8 premiered, the number 10 spot of Nielsen's rating chart went to Apple TV's Silo with 396. Nice. John, why is that nice? Well, what's 96 backwards? Nice. 396 million minutes viewed. Since Skeleton Crew didn't appear on the chart, its finale clearly failed to reach even the low bar. Yeah, that if number 10 was only 396 million minutes viewed, and it didn't even appear as number 10, even if it was 395, it was still lower, and still low enough to where it didn't even get onto the charts. So that's a failure. And because Nielsen measures total minutes for all episodes watched during the week, it's evident that Skeleton Crew failed to generate any significant binge watching activity. So again, why? What was it about the show that caused it to fail? People were like, "Oh, it's really, really fun to watch, and it makes you feel like a kid again." And blah, blah. Apparently, wasn't that great because no one watched it. For perspective, The Akashite premiered with 488 million minutes for the first 2 episodes, averaging about 244 million per episode. Andor was a series praised by critics but considered a slower paced niche show. Debuted with 624 million minutes across 3 episodes, averaging 208 million per episode. Skeleton Crew, with 2 premiere episodes, failed to clear even 191 million minutes per episode. The collapse is even more shocking when compared to The Mandalorian, season 2 finale, which achieved a staggering 1.336 billion, so 1.3 billion minutes of viewing in a single week. That means over 70% of Star Wars plus Star Wars viewers have vanished since the franchise's peak. Samba TV, which often highlights streaming numbers, has also remained silent on Skeleton Crew, Yeah, and here's another thing. Like when things are a success, people will come out and let you know that it's a success. Like, oh my God, are doing numbers. Thank you guys so much. But when they stay silent and they don't want you to know the numbers, that's a sure sign that the numbers aren't that impressive and they're embarrassed by them. Because if you see big peepee numbers, you're going to want to show off those big peepee numbers. And you're usually going to come out and thank people for watching it and making it the success that it is. So when you don't see numbers, numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. And whenever a company does this by trying to hide those numbers, you know, people always find out what those numbers are. And it's like, well, I can see why they were hiding it. You know? So if you have a company and they make a show or movie or a game or whatever, and, you know, no one's talking about the numbers, about how successful it is, it's because the numbers aren't there. Did the Akashite kill Star Wars? The collapse of the Skeleton Crew may be less about the show itself and more about the wreckage left behind by the Akashite. Leslie Headcase's acolyte, who was the former personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein. Leslie Headcase's acolyte was widely panned, generating intense backlash from longtime fans who felt it embodied everything wrong with modern Star Wars. Poor writing. Yeah, most of the shit didn't even make any sense. Divisive themes and a disconnect from what made the franchise beloved. Yeah. Again, there was like, I've said this before, there was like an entire scene where like 15 seconds is just OSHA staring at the dude's junk. Was that really necessary in Star Wars? You know, freaking Master Squid Games with, you know, stupid decisions. Like, he's supposed to be smart, and most of the time he is, but then he makes some really stupid decisions. You know, then you have the lesbian space witches, the power of one, the power of two, the power of many. You had OSHA and May's mom, you know, so hell-bent on keeping them around and not letting them go and this and that. You need to stay here. And then later on, the Jedi show up and she turns into a giant puff of smoke and tries to kill them. And then as she's dying, she's like, I was gonna let her go. Well, dumb bitch, maybe you should have said something before you turn into a giant puff of smoke and tried to kill the Jedi. Maybe you'd still be around. So the plotting of the story, the pacing of the story, the characters of that story, none of it was good. None of it was good. But then when you criticize, say, OSHA, oh, no. Amanda Stenberg or whatever the fuck her name is, got to come out and, oh, it's because you're racist and this. No, you're a boring character. If you taken a another black actress who had more personality and put her in a situation, she probably would have been a lot better. But you're like a freaking black Brie Larson. A cardboard cutout of you has more fucking personality. So it has nothing to do with you being black or female. It's just you're a terrible actress. I don't know about her and other things, but at least for the Acolyte, she was terrible. She just had like one face. It was like no one can connect to someone who's boring like that. But more devastating than outrage was the apathy it created. By the time Skeleton Crew arrived, the audience had already checked out. Oh god, our favorite lesbian space switch. The timeline supports this theory. A film theory. And cut. After the Acolyte's disastrous run, Star Wars fans who once watched every project, even out of morbid curiosity, chose to skip Skeleton Crew entirely. The series didn't just lose casual viewers, it lost the hardcore fan base, the lifeblood of Star Wars cultural dominance. Many of these viewers expressed that they were simply too fatigued by Disney's mishandling the franchise to give another show a chance. Yeah, that's what happens when the force is female. You know, you have all these strong, powerful women's, but the lack of good story. You have all this diversity, but a lack of good story. It can be as diverse as it wants, but if the story isn't there, if the characters aren't engaging enough, no one's going to be interested, not even people who want the diversity. So it has nothing to do with the color of their skin, it has nothing to do with their gender, it has everything to do with the writing. And the more they insist on doing girl boss moments and, you know, making black women and just women in general constantly emasculate the men and constantly push, you know, topics about racism and this and that, people are going to tune out. People are going to just stop watching. Because back in the day, at least you could have those kinds of messages and it'd be subtle. Nowadays, they sacrifice good writing to make you know that, hey, this is what the story's about. Don't be a racist. Being a racist is bad. This man in the story, he's getting bullied because he was a racist. You should never be a racist. Or, oh, it's not nice to be mean to women. Women are just as strong and powerful as men are. It's like, okay, we fucking get it. Now, can you give us some good writing with these women? Is that a possibility here? This isn't just fan speculation. The Luminate 2024-25 streaming report confirmed that Skeleton Crew is the lowest performing Star Wars series to date. A direct indicator of how the Acolyte's failure poisoned the well. Even Ahsoka, which had a lukewarm reception, outperformed Skeleton Crew. The message from audience is clear. The damage from the Acolyte was catastrophic. In essence, the Acolyte didn't just fail as a show. It actively hurt the brand. Again, it's not just a show, but when you have people coming out like, oh, there's a bunch of phobes and isms. If you don't like these characters, it's not meant for you. Don't watch it. So now you have people like Amanda Stenberg who come out and do that crap. And people are now, the viewers are going to now associate not only her, but Disney with this sort of marketing where they allow their actors and actresses and whoever to come out and call people phobes and isms just because they have criticism of the show. And they're going to see it. It's like, okay, well, we criticized that show and look what they did. Why would I even bother watching in the next project? So when you come out and call your viewers phobes, and isms, especially when you're in the business of, you know, making money, all you're going to do is lose money. Where was we? It actively hurt the brand. Instead of reigniting excitement from the Star Wars community, it became the final straw that turned indifference into the franchise's new norm. Once the question was whether Star Wars could ever recover from bad movies. Now it's whether it can recover from fans simply not caring anymore. And I know a lot of you guys, whether it be longtime people or even new people, I get a lot of they're like, I'm done with Star Wars. Like, you guys will list out all the stuff you're done with. You're like, either Star Trek, Doctor Who, this or that, and just all these franchises that people knew and loved. You're like, I'm just done with it. Because this is what they're doing. They'd rather have, you know, terrible storytelling, terrible characters. You know, they sacrifice an amazing concept just to push their activism, and then when people call it out, well, you're just a bunch of phobes, and isms. You're a bunch of far-right extremists and Nazis and fascists, and it's not meant for you. Don't watch it, and blah, blah, blah. Go touch grass. And then when the views are down, they're like, oh my God, how could this happen? Well, maybe because you insulted most of the viewers. Maybe because viewers don't like paying for a service and then being insulted by the people who are making the show. Maybe they feel like they're tired of voicing their concerns or whatever and being called a racist because of it. despite that it has nothing to do with race. Even if they don't bring up race, they could just say the show looks bad, and people will immediately go to, oh, well, it's because you don't like black females. Never said that. I just said the show looked bad. Has nothing to do with black females or black people. I said the show looks bad. I didn't say, oh man, they shouldn't have that person there. So people are just tired of that crap. The Acolyte didn't finish off Star Wars on its own, but it may have been the final nail in the coffin. Star Wars interest has been waning since the release of Rian Johnson's Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Since then, the company has been seeing diminishing returns, with bright spots here and there, like The Mandalorian's first 2 seasons. The decline of Star Wars under Kathleen Kennedy, the Force is female. Yep, Force is female. Has been a slow, steady march to failure, but it's altogether possible that we may have reached the bottom of the barrel at long last. At last. A franchise in freefall. The failure of Skeleton Crew raises serious questions about Star Wars' viability as a brand. Once the gold standard of science fiction and fantasy storytelling. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a fan of Star Wars, but I can appreciate the storytelling. Appreciate seeing characters actually have to train to become good using the Force and not just, hey, look at me. My name is Rey. Watch what I can do. When you have to see people like Anakin and Luke, and you see them training, Rey just comes up, hey, look what I can do. Hey, I just kicked every man's ass. They're like 40 years my senior. I just whooped all of them because I'm a strong female. And then people are going to sit there like, okay, but why though? What makes her special? People say the same thing about Legend of Korra. How she just kind of comes out like age 4. She's like mastered all the elements. But then when in Last Airbender, we see Aang having to learn how to use the elements. He needs to learn each form of bending. He doesn't just like bust out of the ice and like, oh yes, fire, water, earth. No, he's got to go around and learn how to do it. And yet at 4 years old, Korra is somehow able to use all the elements. And apparently is considered the strongest avatar of all fucking time. Which is strong female. So people are tired of that storytelling. Strong females that can do anything and everything with no downside. Star Wars now seems incapable of rallying even the most devoted fans. Under the leadership of Kathleen Kennedy and creatives like Leslie Headcase, the franchise has stumbled from one disappointment to another. The once evergreen cultural juggernaut has shaped pop culture for decades, is now struggling to even register with audiences. Hey, that's what I said. The numbers don't lie. The Force has truly faded. A skeleton audience. Run, Jedi, run. You have only prolonged the inevitable. Skeleton audience. But yeah, that's what I said. Numbers don't lie. If the numbers were good, if the numbers were huge, they were good numbers, very, very good numbers, then they'd be saying, oh my God, guys, thank you so much. The show's been a success. But they're always quiet, whether it be about in movies or TV shows or games. Because when people do well, they'll come out and thank you for whatever it is doing well. Even someone like Rachel Zegler, when there's so many views for the first, I think it was the first Snow White trailer, she was like, oh my God, thank you guys for making it so popular. That's what happens when you have big PP numbers. But when you have small PP numbers, it's like having a real small PP. It's embarrassing. And I would know. See, this is why no one can insult me. I joke about myself. I can say things that I know that aren't true, but because it's a joke. So if you guys, people want to call me incel, this and that, you really gotta step your game up. I mean, I call myself fat, ugly, small peanut all the freaking time. You gotta step your game up. Stop scraping the barrel of, the bottom of the barrel of insults and actually make something creative. Oh my god, you basement dweller. But yeah. Let me know why the show failed. People are saying it wasn't woke at all, then if it wasn't woke, then what was the reason for it? What was the reason for failure? Because if it was as fun as everyone said, then it would have more views. It would have gotten better views and should have been like #1. So let me know what went wrong with this show. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. You guys.